Welcome to this refresher video from the National Improving Writing Programme relating to feedback and marking. In this video, we will be describing some ideas to support the delivery of the full writing bundle, specifically focusing on feedback to learners and marking pupil work. There are a few ways to ensure effective feedback is taking place through the writing journey. Firstly, when feedback can happen in the middle of the learning journey, it can be very powerful. This could be within just one single lesson, where the teacher is circulating around the room and offering those in-the-moment adaptations for learners. It could be showcasing pupil work mid-lesson, using a visualizer, or by allowing pupils to share their own high-quality sentences with everyone else. We know that feedback is most successful when it focuses on the learning and not on the learner. So, for example, statements like, "You've worked really hard on this," are not going to be as impactful as, "You've added 5 great openers." Keep the feedback focused on the learning and specifically on your success criteria. Finally, ensuring that the only comments you make which are related to the success criteria are definitely the most impactful. If you are looking at sentence openers and punctuation, then only mark and deliver feedback on those elements. Do not make any comments about spelling, conjunctions, or handwriting to that learner. So feedback should take place as soon as possible after writing and in the company of the writer. Feedback should provide learners with opportunities to discuss their writing, about what went well and what they might need to adapt. Feedback should be used to share examples of best practice, to praise and to support. Feedback should highlight strengths along with next steps. Feedback should link right back to the success criteria. And there should be plenty opportunities for feedback, whether that is self, peer, or teacher-led. So what might this look like at the start of a lesson? Well, this could all be about sharing the successes. Something which is encouraged in the National Writing Improvement Programme is sharing the teaching aim as a percentage or using the run chart as shown here. Another way of giving feedback might be using examples of pupil work with permission from the pupil or having had it retyped by the class teacher. Talking about what makes it really good and how it met the criteria is a lovely way of sharing feedback at the start of a lesson. Within the lesson, feedback can be delivered in various ways. One successful example might be the editing station's technique, as you can see here on the screen. Pause to read this in a little more depth. But overall, what happens is the class teacher sets up a variety of literacy stations after writing and ensure all learners have the chance to edit and fix their mistakes based on the success criteria laid out for them. Another example of effective feedback is using different peer-to-peer models. Studies show that students write much better feedback when they are able to do so anonymously, so perhaps anonymous post-it notes could be used to assess children's work. The sand timer method for feedback is a short and snappy way to get pupils talking to each other for just 1 minute, for example. Peer conferences can be scaffolded by ensuring pupils have questions to ask each other or sentence stems to finish. An example of this might be, "Next time I will try," or "Tomorrow I'd like to add." A final idea for peer feedback is using the "my favourite line" idea. Peers identify their favourite line from the writing one that meets the criteria, and shares that with the author of the writing. It is absolutely essential that the learners get the opportunity to correct any mistakes that they have made. Using the editing station helps manage the classroom, and there are a few ways learners can then act on that feedback. As the teacher, you could work one-to-one with the child and get them to correct alongside you. If you've been using highlighters to find areas that were successful, look at the areas where there was no highlighting. Is that because there was missing punctuation at the end of a sentence? This could be the opportunity to fix it and then re-highlight it to show that it has met the criteria. Another way to edit is to use editing flaps. In this example, learners find the sentence, sentences, or even paragraphs to edit, and they rewrite them on a separate piece of paper, all correctly, and then this gets added as a flap onto the page. This makes sure that the flow of writing isn't disrupted, but that the learner has been able to edit and meet all the criteria. So when thinking about marking, it's important to encourage pupils to be involved in this process as much as possible. We know there's been great success using colour-coded success criteria, where learners highlight or underline in different colours the corresponding colour to where they have achieved the criteria. We also know that breaking down individual sentences in relation to the key aim is very successful, and learners highlight where they have shown that in their work. Finally, a few hints and tips to support the workload of marking and editing. Very first, it is so important that feedback is prioritised to the learners who are not meeting the success criteria. If pupils have been successful in meeting the criteria, then they don't need your feedback for improvement. Over the course of a week, those learners might have some verbal feedback and dialogue with you, or perhaps their work is used as a good example. But every single pupil in the class does not need feedback on every single piece of writing. And also, when you're marking pupil work, you need only mark until the point where the pupil has shown that they have met the criteria. Once they've been successful, you no longer need to mark them against that criteria. You will, of course, read the rest of what is written, as there could be some amazingly great examples to share, but there is no more marking required. Thank you for listening to this short video, and remember, if you need any further support, reach out to your school lead or your local leads. Thank you.